Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tiffany.
To some, we could be called career wizards.
And to others, sometimes we seem like therapists. However, we definitely are not.
But for you, we are the co hosts of the Career Boosters podcast.
I learned this from, playing tennis. Because at the beginning, when I playing tennis, I Googled a lot of videos about the tennis tournaments and tried to imitate those professional players. And they always play so hard. And, sometimes they hit the ball and then they shout, ah, ha. And I feel, oh my God, that's awesome. I should look like that when I was in the court. So I did that, but the result is terrible because for the beginner, you have to go the opposite direction. You have to play it very slowly and softer. So yeah, I would say start small.
Hello and welcome to the Career Boosters podcast, the first episode of 2025. We cannot believe that we are in season 2 and episode 18 of this podcast. That is wild. Today we have a very special first year MBA student joining us. Today we are going to talk all things new. Yes, we just passed New Year's and it's that time for some to make those New Year's resolutions. Tiffany and I maybe don't subscribe to this as much as others because when we start something new, whether it's a new habit, a new job, a new semester, that just doesn't need to happen once a year. It could happen anytime. You can really pull the proverbial trigger and go as long as you need to. So, Mila Zhang joins us today. She has spent 4 months already cruising through an MBA program focusing on topics like finance and accounting, stats, and leadership. Well, now she gets to start on the internship job search as well as the full MBA course load. Starting something new always has mixed emotions and feelings. We may feel nervous, excited, scared, and many others. How do we move forward? How do we take action, even through these times and these emotions and these feelings that we're having? Well, we're going to find out. Mila, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. And I am going to start with the first question. What is the story behind your decision to embark on an MBA journey right now?
Yeah, thank you for having me. The reason that why I took this MBA program is because I want to improve myself. Because I came to Canada to, look for a better work-life balance. And at the same time, I also want to improve myself. Because I used to read an article which showed a very interesting perspective. This article mentioned that most people mentally die after the age of 30. And the article explained that most people achieve a stable career and a stable life after that age. Then they will stop study, stop thinking, and stop growing up. Like in the end, they trapped in a fixed mindset. And before I took this program, I literally feel the same thing that I almost mentally die because I'm used to very busy with my work and working every day. So I don't have time study and I don't have time thinking. And because I don't want to die. So I have to push myself to, study and keep improving myself. Yeah.
Paul, you and I might be in trouble. You and I are a little past 30.
I'm way past 30,
I
way
was being
past it.
kind. We are definitely both past that mark. However, really interesting, Mila, that, a synonym I heard in my brain was stagnation. That it certainly can be easy enough to feel very stagnant if we're not doing new things. And that's what we're here to talk about today is strategies for tackling new things. Like Paul said, sure, it's a new year. Great. We do New Year's resolutions. We'll talk a bit more about maybe why we don't quite subscribe to that, but many people do. And lots of things start in the new year, like your semester. You've just started a new semester. So tell us a little bit about what kinds of new you have tackled in the last little while.
Yeah, a lot of new things for sure. So I studied this MBA program, of course, and I got a part-time job in the business school. It's the MBA assistant role. It's my first job in Canada, brand new. Yeah, and all the courses, they are new to me, and learning in English is new to me, and build new network of relationships, made several new friends and start small talk with new people. And I also played soccer for their business baller, the NBA sports team. And my mom still can't believe that. What? You play soccer? That's never gonna happen. Yeah. And this semester, I just registered for their pickleball. And recording this podcast is also new to me. I never did this before. So yeah, a lot of new things going on.
That's
I'm just going to point
amazing.
out, sorry to talk over you, Paul. Did you also not just start tennis lessons too?
Oh yeah, I did that. But that's not new because I took
Oh,
this before. Yeah.
okay. I don't think tennis differs in Canada, so I'm sure it's the same tennis, but cool. Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
Two rackets, one ball. Yeah,
Yep.
typically the same. So it's Mila, the cool part of about what I heard was
Mhm.
there's so many new, it was like compounded newness, right? Like you have new education, you have new classes, you have tell us a little bit about what it was your background. Like what did you when before you came here, what did you do? Like what was the experiences that you had? And what's the one sorry, I'm going to stop there. What was your background? Where do you come from?
I came from China, and I used to work in Beijing in the GQ magazine, and I was an editor. So part of my job was, create the content for the magazine, and another part of my job is I will offer advertisement plans for different kinds of brands. Planning the advertisement and shoot the advertisement, and help them increase their exposure to the China market. Yeah.
That's so cool. And I'm sure you experienced many things new through that role and new customers and new advertisements. What's the main approach you have for coming against something that's new?
Um, for me, I think the important things is that you have to be flexible when you approach new things. For example, when you try something new, the experience can be very different. If you try a new food, it might be very delicious and you will feel very happy, excited, but it can be also, terrible and you will feel frustrated. Oh, why should I try this? Um, so I think the key is being flexible. Um, be ready for whatever gonna happen, and just go. Um, be open with all the things, all the changes. Yeah.
Mm. Paul just said a really interesting phrase of compounded newness. So, yes, you've experienced new throughout your life and career. We all kind of do, but you've experienced a lot of new
Mhm.
compounded on each other in the last probably 6 months for sure, 6 months to a year for you.
Mhm.
So, this flexibility that you've mentioned that is important, and I would wholeheartedly agree. Have you had to be more flexible? Have you needed to do something different when approaching so much new all at the same time?
Yeah, that's exactly what I have to do. I still have to be flexible, but much more flexible than I was in China. Because here in the English context, the things are quite different and changes are much more than before. So yeah, I sure I have to be more flexible. And also I think I also use some other approaches when I come to the new context, something like start small. Because like in my own language, things might be easier. So the goal might be bigger or much bigger than here. But in English context, I would say start small, take it easy, and set lower expectations. Yeah, and be patient. And I learned this from playing tennis, because at the beginning when I playing tennis, I Googled a lot of videos about the tennis tournaments and tried to imitate those professional players. And they always play so hard. And, sometimes they hit the ball and then they shout, ah, ha. And I feel, oh my God, that's awesome. I should look like that when I was in the court. So I did that, but the result is terrible because for the beginner, you have to go the opposite direction. You have to play it very slowly and softer. So yeah, I would say start small.
I appreciate, I'm going to link this to kind of comparing yourselves to others. So when you start small, you got to watch who you're comparing yourselves to, like you just mentioned, right? A pro versus maybe somebody who's reasonable to compare yourself to.
Mhm.
You talked about coming here being in an English context. Lots of times, international students then compare themselves to domestic students, to professionals
Mm,
who've been here the whole life, and it's the wrong comparator to try
yeah.
to figure out kind of what to do next. I want to go back to this more flexible piece and ask just one more question.
Mhm.
Have you experienced, I'm making up a word here, flex fatigue? So, a tiredness from having to be so flexible so often. Have you experienced that at all, would you say, in this big new period?
Can you explain the question for
Yeah.
me?
It's one thing to be flexible kind of here and there, right? You flex, but then you get to be normal. And then you flex and then you get a break. But you've had to flex, flex, be flexible, flex again, and you've had no break, no
Mhm.
rest period between all of your flexes, which makes people often more tired because they've had to flex a lot. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, definitely I experienced that. And at that time, I will doubt myself, why I came here, why I took this MBA program, why I have to learn English, so many questions. And, uh, these questions makes me feel regret about my decision. But, but then I will take a break, maybe stop talking with people who are speaking English,
Mhm.
just stay at my comfort zone for a while
Yeah.
and hang out with my Chinese friends so we can
Mhm.
speak Mandarins together.
Yeah.
I do need that break. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
this helped me recover and helps me recharge. And after this break, and I'm ready to face a real reality again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And we have a lot of international students on our program, usually for MBA programs that are for full-time students. Usually half of the students for us is pretty regular. And I think something that is very easy to forget for someone domestic like myself is you're processing all of the information in a completely other language, translating it for yourself, working through things. You talked about small talk. You talked about, all of these things that like we take for granted that you have to kind of exercise more amount of the battery to be able to work through. So, it just so many kudos to you to be able to go through that and be able to just enjoy the process of it too. Because Tiffany and I are lucky enough to teach you guys in classes, and the classes, I mean, the participation from international students is amazing, and you realize how much effort's being put into that, and we really appreciate it. You made a really interesting comment around comfort zone and stepping out of your comfort zone when it comes to the things that are new. What has that been like? And what kind of strategies do you use to ensure that you have an effective mindset approaching something new?
Um, so first, thank you for the understanding of the international students. That's very kind. Um, Stepping out of my comfort zone is, of course, it's uncomfortable. So one thing that I hate is doubt myself, like I just mentioned, because this is something will makes me lose my confidence, and so. But luckily, one of my strengths is futurism. Um, and I am very good at daydreaming. So, I can't help myself to think about a beautiful future, a nice future. It's kind of a hint to myself that, just be patient. The beautiful future will coming sooner or later. And this will motivate me. And even I feel uncomfortable right now, but I know it will gone. So it's a good way. And
Yeah.
another thing is that I maybe sounds a little bit weird, but I like to talk to myself when I was alone at home. Um, just review something happened that I'm not very satisfied with my performance. For example, maybe after the recording, I will feel, oh, one of the question, I missed something. I didn't answer it very well. So I might, answer it again when I was alone, try to practice the English, rephrase my wording. And because it's second time, so for sure I will do better than the first time.
Hmm.
So it makes me feel, oh, okay, I can do this.
Hmm.
I get my confidence back.
Yeah.
So yeah, next time I won't miss this, or I won't make some mistake like this.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So
What
one
a
of the strategies is sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say this is one of my strategy,
Hmm.
when I was feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I want to add one little thing, and then I'm going to let Tiffany ask you the next question. I think what is so cool about what you just talked about around, like, I like to look to the future, being a daydreamer, being the one that like loves to be in the seeing what's the possibilities out there. We, Tiffany and I, both being certified strengths coaches through Gallup, there's this one thing called futuristic, and that's what you pointed to, and
Mhm.
it's last on my list, and I admire people so much that are the daydreamers. I wish that I had the littlest inkling of daydreaming because I think that there's so much positivity that can come from like a future of great growth and beautifulness. So and I love that you're reflective and have an internal dialogue because all of us do. I have an internal monologue that sometimes isn't very kind and sometimes is kind, right? And we all have to face that, right? So I think
Yeah.
what wonderful strategies there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Lean into your strengths. When you're uncomfortable, remember what you're really great at. And it's lower on my list too. So of the three of us, you definitely are the daydreamer. And I also appreciate that talent. It's not one that I have high on my list either. Let's talk about right now. So we've talked about some of the change and new that you've already experienced, but right now is a new semester. And part of this semester is a new look to internships or a job search, which is often a focus of MBA students. So what are you focusing on right now that is new for you, and how are you focusing on it?
Comparing the first semester, I did have some plans for the new semester. Because for the first semester, I mainly focused on two things. One is study, and another one is the part-time work. I feel I didn't have extra energy to do more things. But now I'm more aware of the process, and I already had one semester, so I know what's going on there. And now this semester, I want to be more engaged, experience more things like connecting with more people, and also just maybe just hang out with my cohorts more. And also, uh, after the semester, learning about myself and talking with you guys, my career coach. And now I'm more clear about the job I want to do. So I think it's time for me to prepare my resume, search for internship, learn more about the Edmonton uh, employee marketing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
market. Hmm.
market. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, the newness never stops. It is continual. It is a realization of potential. It is an understanding of where you can go, and I think all of those things are really wonderful.
Mhm.
There was one thing that I had mentioned in class this week, and it's around. There's this book that I had been reading kind of on and off, and it was called The Gap and the Gains. The gap are if we as we look into like what's next, we tend to just set ourselves up for kind of failure. We don't really understand what those things are that are coming up. But if we look backwards, we start to understand and appreciate some of our gains, right? Like we look back and you can say, look, I've made it through a one semester of an MBA program. That's remarkable. Oh, guess what? I did it in a completely other language than my first pieces of education come from, right? And so there's a really amazing quote from Steve Jobs, and he talks about you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So what have you realized about your successes? What are some of the gains that you've had in the last couple of months?
Mm, so I think one notable gains is that I learn more about myself. This might sound weird because who doesn't know themselves, right? But the thing is that I think looking back to my previous life is actually can helps me make better choice for now. Um, when we were kids and when we study math in China, there is a very common strategy for students to learn math is you make a note of mistakes. You collect all the wrong questions in a note. And if you want to improve, you have to review it regularly, knowing the mistakes so that you won't make mistakes again. And looking back to my previous life is just like a note of my mistakes and my success. So looking at these notes helps me understand me better. Because of course I know that I love my family. Everyone know this. But if you don't look back, I would never know family is most important value of my life. Yeah, I learned that by looking back. And also when I was looking back, I would understand why this is my strength, why this is my weakness, and why I feel comfortable with this kind of things, why I always dislike this kind of things. It's actually all there. And if you don't look back, you will never notice this. And also, like I at the beginning of the semester, I was very stressed about networking, and every coach meeting with Tiffany, I will bring up this question to her and discuss this to her. But now I don't feel stressed anymore, and I'm very peace with the things because I look back to my previous life. Did I rely on networking to make success? No, I didn't. If really I interested in someone or something, can I connect with them? Can I talk with them? Yes, I can. I did that before. So why I stressed about this? It kind of stupid, but yeah, it really helps a lot.
What a beautiful and transparent kind of look into how Mila works, right? How you think, how you feel, and how important reflection is.
Mm,
Paul and I say it till we're blue in the face, but unless somebody truly understands it, it's not powerful. And you have really leaned in to reflection. And even in the 4 months that you and I have been working together, the supercharge that has given you, the power that has given you, has been very obvious from my perspective, for sure.
mhm.
You talked about failures or mistakes, and that's on my list. And it's not a new as of January 1st. It's been on my list for a little while. It's to become more comfortable with and go looking for failure, actually, because we don't learn a lot from success. We can appreciate stuff from success, but true learnings come from looking back and looking at some failures and being okay with it and going looking for it. So good for you. If you
Thank
had
you.
a piece of advice, and I think this whole podcast has been advice, but if you wanted to highlight a piece of advice for somebody who's tackling something new, no matter when it is, what advice would you give them?
Um, so I would say be patient. If you put enough effort, what's meant to be yours will eventually come to you. Just be patient.
Trust the process. That sign that's right
Yeah.
behind Paul. Yeah, I love it. Cool.
Uh,
I feel like we could keep chatting about this for a while, Mila. You just have such wisdom, but it's time to go to a lightning round. Are you ready?
oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. 3 quick questions, 3 gut answers. What
Mhm.
part of your career has given you the biggest boost?
I think it's started to managing different commercial cases. It's quite challenging and it leveled my ability up to the next step.
Cool. What do you wish you'd learned sooner?
I'm a very slow to warm up person, so I wish I can quickly branding myself or quickly become familiar and comfortable with strangers.
All right. And service is so important to Paul and I. So we always like to hear, how is service going to show up for you in this coming week?
I would say something nice about them and encouraging people.
Yes, that is very on brand for you. All right, Paul. Paul's random question. What do you got?
So I was telling Tiffany and Mila just before we started press record, I said I was standing in a coffee line waiting for my coffee, and a question came to me, knowing that Mila came. And most of the time I come up with the questions just as we're recording and things like that. But the thing that I appreciate about Mila so much is there's a kindness and there's this real compassion. And Mila, my question comes to the relationships around you. So you have people in the MBA program that are friends, that are partners. You have a little fur animal at home that is a relationship and somebody, something that really brings joy and value. What is the one trick for you to build great relationships with people?
Wow. I talked to this with very wisdom friends.
Hmm.
He's a retired professor of the education school. Um, I asked him the question because we are friends, and I don't know why he want to be my friend, right? Um, I think the thing is that I don't have any trick. I hope I can have some tricks, but I don't. Um, and also, I think he shared his story with me. I think it's the same story of me too, because I'm the same kind of person, just like him. He
Hmm.
said he knows many students. They are very clear of their life goal, and they might set a very fancy goal when they were just in high school. How can they go to Harvard, something like that.
Hmm.
But he himself, he never did this. He's a person don't know how to set up this kind of goal, or don't know how to approach to people, uh, build relationships, something like that. What he did, or what I did, is the same thing. Is just being ourselves.
Hmm.
um, yeah, just being ourselves, and
Hmm.
then people can learn about you. They can know
Yeah.
what kind of person you are, and if
Hmm.
they like you, they will come to you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's, when I think about what you bring to an MBA program, you are authentic, you are who you are. And I think
Mhm.
Tiffany and I can relate to that so much. We show up the way we show up, right? And I think that's what I hoped you would answer with is the authenticity, right? So awesome. Thanks.
uh, Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mila, your authenticity comes with, I think, more skill than you might realize. In English, we sometimes describe younger people who have a lot of wisdom within them. We call them old souls.
Old
And
souls.
old
Mhm.
soul. And that's very much what I feel from you, that from an age perspective, I mean, considering Paul and I are older than you, you are young, but the wisdom that comes from you, the authenticity that comes from you, and yes, aided by some of your experience along the way, makes you a very wise old soul in a young body.
Ah, I got you.
And there's a lot of power behind being someone who is wise like you are and who is willing to authentically share in a very humble and kind way that wisdom with others. And that's exactly what you've done today in this podcast. We know that doing a podcast in English is not necessarily comfortable. Heck, doing a podcast when you speak English as a first language isn't comfortable for many people. So we know that this was a stretch out of your comfort zone, but the amount of wisdom that you have shared in such an authentic and humble way is inspiring. It is masterful. And it is just, we are so grateful that you have taken the leap to be uncomfortable, stretch yourself, and to help others grow. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I learned one more thing about myself again. Thank
What's
you
that?
so much.
What did you learn? Are you willing to
It-
share?
you just said that I have an old soul in a
Oh,
young
that's,
body.
yeah, you do. You do. There you go. Learn something new about yourself every day. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mila.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. I wasn't kidding when I called her an old soul. There was just so much wisdom. But the piece that I'd like to highlight is when she talked about, or when I asked her about flex fatigue, right? When you're tackling so much new at once, the compounded newness, is that new needs recovery. And we often don't appreciate how much recovery, and we often don't prioritize recovery because it often looks like self care. And that can be labeled as, I don't know, laziness or, not being as driven. And that's just not the fact. When we go to the gym, we build muscle and we have this micro tears to build muscle. They need recovery. It's no different when you're tackling something new. So make sure you build in recovery time.
I thought it was really fascinating that she's like, I go back to my friends and we speak Mandarin together, and that's
Yeah.
refreshing to me. I love that because I think too often we can go to the no, speak English as long as and as much as you
Yeah.
can to work on those skills, but we have to realize there's this like underpinning of refreshment and
Mhm.
recharge. So I think that's a really
Mhm.
great key takeaway. You're
Yeah.
going to learn a little bit about Paul in a second here, but
Ooh.
starting small. I loved when she talked about watching these tennis players and thinking that I can go in and do these things. Being a golfer, I love to play
Mhm.
golf. I see people on TV hitting shots that I'm like, I could do that. No problem. And then you go and try it and you're like, yeah, I can't do that. And so it's so hard and it's so frustrating. The other space of Paul, not many people know I love to like play video games. I watch these 18-year-olds that have faster muscles, that have, better eyes, that have way more hair, things like that, that can do some amazing things. I'm like, I can do that. But then at the end of the day, I'm missing out on the journey of just having fun and doing the things that I love. And so what I encourage people to do would be to start small and just enjoy the journey.
Oh, I love that. And I can relate in so many ways, but I will keep this concise. Next week, we do resumes and cover letters, which sounds very tactical, but there'll be some larger strategies in there and things that you may not realize that go into resumes and cover letters. So we'll dig into that next week. See you later. Thanks for tuning in to the Career Boosters podcast. We hope you had a blast. Yeah, we know that's corny. Catch you next time, and remember to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts.